Hold on. Can you hear me now? How about now? Having all kinds of issues today. Okay, cool. Thanks. Felt like I was talking to myself for a minute. Okay, so, a little late here. I tried to do a preview. I think I threw a bunch of people off, so I'm trying to give it another minute, but we're already at 1:10, so there we go. We just picked up a bunch of people. Again, I apologize. I tried to do a preview, and it just didn't work, so I threw everybody off. Hey, Naya. Good to see you again. On Eastern Standard Time, it's 1 p.m. here. So 1:10. So we're going to get started. There's 10 stocks I really want to go over. And then as this goes on, I'll take questions. But one of the important things that I really want to address today is there's an indicator we're going to get to after I do these top 10. And you're just going to have to bear with me as I learn how to show this, on the system. I'm still trying to learn the system. So let's just get into it, and we'll start here. And then anyone that missed it, they can watch it on the replay. So these are not in alphabetical order. There are 10 of them, and we're just going to really dive into this. So the first one that I'm going to get into today is this VXRT. And, I want to go through something. When I come up with this top 10 stocks of the week, I'm going to start indicating whether or not these are shorter term trades or longer term trades, so people have an understanding of where my head is with them. I think that's important. I don't think I've done a very good job of that, so I'll do better with that. It's a learning curve for all of us here. But in regards to this volume this past week was staggering, and what was great about this was you rallied to this 1070 line, failed, tested support. And now look at this, really dive into this for a minute. See how support, that was the low of the day? So we opened, tested support, and then ran to resistance. Now what you're looking for here for this to be an actionable trade is we're looking for it. I'm going to have to show you this line right here. You're really looking for that 1110 line is really what you're looking for, okay? You're really looking for a break right above that line. If you see that, you could engage here. There's no resistance up here whatsoever. And let me just show you this because I think this is important. That's a weekly. So I'm looking for a spike. I'm not looking to stay in this thing for months. I don't want to get into the fundamentals of it, but you can see that we're respecting certain lines, right? So you're respecting this level right in here, roughly around $14. So I would just look for that level. I think that's really interesting that you could spike up to there. We've stopped there a couple times, but there's a level there, and this volume that's coming in is pretty staggering. So that's the first one that I want to go over. I can hide the RSI with the D button. Or maybe I can do that. I'll try that. Okay, so we're picking some people up here. Again, sorry, came in late. Hey, Victoria. Hey, Nicholas. I'm sorry. Good morning. I'm sorry it came in late. I'm just trying to figure it out now. It looks like we're up and running and we're good and we're adding people. So let's just keep going. The first one was VXRT. And the key level for this one, again, is really that, we're really looking to get above this wick. Remember, on candlestick charts, price action, right? The wicks are price rejection. See how all this was rejected? See how the next day it's not rejected? That's very powerful. Also how we held the support of 929. Where would I think I'm wrong here? If you close below 1070, it's really not going to be the end of the world. Closing below 9.25 is a problem. But the way that these are pointing up, that probably shouldn't happen on VXRT. And let's just throw in a couple things here. So you can see the 8 is going to cross. The 8's already crossed the 21 and the 50. And then you throw the 5 in. Now we have the 5, the 8 crossing all those others. So this is very bullish what's going on here. And I have an enormous base on this stock. Like it's almost a year base. So I'm very comfortable with this idea. But again, to me, this is a trade. I'm looking for a spike, and hitting that 9.25 and closing below 9.25 would be something that would get me out of it. That would be a concern of mine. That would be one that I definitely worry about that there. So, before I continue, I'm going to try and do this a little more informally. Any questions about VXRT that you want answered right now before we go on to the next one? Any way that I can clear it up? Doesn't look like it. All right. So if there are, I'll come back to it. So the next one, and again, I'm not going to make this a crypto channel by any stretch of the imagination, but this you need to pay attention to. Caveat, I have positions in this and I have positions in Bitcoin, but I just want to go through this. So the way that I'm just going to recommend it, and you can buy it however you want if you choose to buy it, Ethereum has a grayscale type of ETN that is very similar to the Bitcoin one of GBTC. What you're seeing here on this weekly is a break. And let me just draw, this from here across. You should be able to see this, right? See this coming across? So you have broken above that on the weekly, and that has become your low. So this support level right here, right, this is now support. It was resistance, and you could see how it flipped on the weekly chart. So now you're sitting up here. So your next level of resistance is going to be this point, 28.84. So if you get above 28.84, you need to see Monday how it opens, not how it does when there's no futures involved and you don't have large players during the week. But if you get above that level, you have to understand something. Your only resistance is $33 on the weekly. Other than that, you're looking at 67. So this could really have a very powerful move. And there is, there's a lot going on with this one, but let's just get into this a little more in depth so people can understand this one. So what you're seeing here, right? You had this downward trend line and we broke it. And ever since we broke it, we can get rid of these indicators for a minute. We really don't need them. There we go. So you can see here this level, right? How we hit it, rejected, and now you're kind of trapped between these two levels. What's interesting about this one from here is that once we break through this, your only resistance is out 2-3 years ago. And the amount of volume, like if you just go through the amount of volume, let me just show this. It doesn't even register versus what's going on here volume wise. So I don't think this is going to be a hard issue at all. And you're starting to see a rotation when, some of these other cryptos go down. You're seeing a rotation into Ethereum. So I do think this has huge potential. And I do think this is much more longer term trade. What would concern me if I was in this, a close below the 24.98 level? That would concern me. That should not happen now. We should not see that happen. Any questions about that? So let's just go through it real quick. Quick question. What is the difference between the SMA5 and SMA indicators? Nicholas, the SMA5 is a 5-day moving average. It's a compilation of the average move of a stock over 5 days. The SMA8 is the 8-day simple moving average, which is just a compilation of the 8 days. So that gives you an idea of what it is. The Ethereum USD trade, Naya, just take a look. Take a look at that, trade versus the US dollar. But Naya, look at the chart, and I don't want to get into it because I want to get through these and answer your questions. Look at the chart between Ethereum and Bitcoin and take a look at what's happening there. That chart in and of itself is breaking out. So I would expect this to continue. I just think that that's really important to state. And it looks like I have a question about where you're looking for. So you're looking at this level right here. So your technical breakout level is right here. And I can get you to really zoom in on this. And I can even zoom in on this, right? Just blow this up and pull this over. This is your level. This is what you're looking for. 28.30, right? 28.83. Okay. You can call it 84. I mean, we don't have to get that technical with it, but that's what you're looking for. And getting above that, and the reason this is so powerful, you have a base from here, right, to here. Okay, so you have like a 24-point base. So when this flips, you can almost take the inverse reaction of this and draw out where your target price is going to be, right? That's one quick way of getting an understanding of where the target might be on the stock. So hopefully hopefully that's helpful. And let's go on to the next one here. If you have more questions about it, please throw them out there. RVLV. So RVLV, and what we're going to do is I'm going to throw these indicators in. So, in regards to this one, look, this stock, I know it's a name that people are not familiar with, but really they're very involved in Instagram and working with people that are influencers. Their earnings are just absolutely on fire, but I really want to just get into this. You are forming an enormous pendant here. It's just enormous, and it's getting tighter and tighter. Okay. What you're going to look for is this 51.64, call it 51.75. And if you go through these levels here, okay, you can see that we can't get above that, right? See how we can't get above it? So we have to get above this. Getting above this, right, really is only going to get us to this 53, 54 level. Flipping it, though, gets to the 55, 56 level. And I just want to show this, that you're basically looking at stock to follow this trajectory. So you have a trend in a channel here from there all the way up, right? So when this flips up, you're looking at roughly $67, $68 on this, okay? And where are you wrong? You're wrong on the breakout if it reverses back in and falls back into what I refer to this as the kill box area. That's where you're wrong on the trade. But 51.75, 52 on huge volume, and you need to be looking at this. The earnings on this company are just absolutely staggering. I played with this thing back here on a breakout, traded it out, and haven't come back to it yet. But it's really setting up here very nicely. And you can see how we're getting tighter and tighter, right? See how it's getting tighter the whole time? That's what you want to say. These velocity contractions, they're exactly what you want to say. So let me just see if I have any questions on that one. Hey, Hoagie. So yeah, we're live. I finally figured it out. So mouse, a little more effort to follow mouse pointer. So it was close to just hitting 28.84 intraday to classify. Yeah, you have to. All right, let me just clarify that. You need to close over that number. Let me be very clear on that. Let's go back to that for a minute because this is exactly what I want to do. So okay, you need to get, let me indicate, you have to close above this. Okay, hitting it and doing this does nothing for me but annoy me, right? Because it doesn't break. That's not a breakout. Getting above it and going to 28.96, I could care less about. That does nothing for me. I need to close over there. Why do I need to see the close? You have to understand that in today's markets, you're dealing a lot more with technology, algorithms, high frequency traders, okay? They know exactly what levels they need to look at to jam somebody in a stock or to shake them out. And so as trading evolves and technology evolves with trading, you need to evolve as a trader and understand that. So how I would set my stops 10 years ago is not how I set them now. I certainly don't put them in the system as often as I used to, especially on smaller cap stocks. And also, I look for open and closing because that shows where true volume is. A lot of institutions really you'll see them move after 2:30, 3 o'clock, because they don't want you to see the average daily volume spiking during the day and front run them. It's just the way it is. So, yeah, you need to catch up. VXRT, I'm more than happy to keep going. FYI, your pointer does not have the circle crosshair on it, at least on my live stream. Do you see a crosshair that usually is on the daily videos? You don't see the crosshair? Hold on. You don't see this right now? I'm drawing the crosshair. Did anyone see the crosshair? Okay. I'm assuming we saw the crosshair. No, you didn't see the crosshair? What the heck is going on? That's odd. Oh, you did see it. Okay. All right. We saw the crosshair. Okay. I think it's on your end. We can see the background dotted lines. All right. Okay. You can see these background dotted lines. All right. Let me just make sure of this before I continue, because I don't want to. Can you see me move it? You guys, can you see me moving the cursor? I'm just curious. You can see me moving the cursor? Just the axis. Okay, so everyone can, some people can see it, some people cannot see it. Okay, so that's not gonna work. That some people can see it and some people cannot see it. So let me just change the screen out real quick. We're gonna toggle, minimize the screen. Okay, and you're just gonna have to look at the top 10 here and stay with me. And then what I'll do is I'll start drawing lines that people can see if you can't see this, because it's not gonna work. So you really need to be right where I put this line in. Okay, that's really the level that you're looking at, right where that other level is, okay? You should be able to see these lines moving now. If you can't, let me know. But I'm just going to open the whole screen up so that we can go through it, and we're going to go through these one by one. So that's the level that you're looking for. The question is, and it was a really good question, well, if you are waiting for the close, how do you know if you're going to be in it or not? Well, this is very simple, okay? And let me just answer that. You can buy it before it pops over this if you think it's going to pop over it. And if it doesn't close above it, just get out of it and re-enter the trade. You know, that's the first thing you can do. The second thing is, if I'm at 30 or I'm at 29 and I think it's going to close above that based upon looking at lesser time frame charts, and it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm like, you know what, it's going to close over that. And if it doesn't close over that, I'm willing to take the risk and take the loss. So that's what I mean by closing over it. You're basically getting confirmation. So people could have bought this day, right? You could have bought it this day. And what would that have done, right? You opened here, you closed at the low, and you could have just gone, well, I'm going to stay in it. But that's not really a pattern recognition, right? You're just hoping and wishing. I bought it, it hit here, it didn't break. Okay, I got to get out of it and just find another spot in. Lose $1, you know, it's, you know, on a $30 move, losing $1 is 3%. I mean, it's nothing. So that's really how you have to look at it. And that's how you get in them and stay in them. I hope that's helpful. And let me just see if that answers the questions. And the grayscale you mentioned, are the two tracking? Yes, they're tracking AB. They track pretty closely together right now. In my opinion, they track very closely together. Way more than GBTC does and Bitcoin at this point. So I got the coffee going. So I hope that answers the question. So may I ask, do you see SLB going back up? Emily, I'll get into it. Let me just get through these top 10, and then I'm going to take questions. I want to show one indicator, and then I'm going to take questions on as many stocks as you guys have and you want to go over. And then I'll leave this out for replay so everyone can go over it. And if somebody wants to do the timestamps again, some people have been sending me the timestamps to put in the descriptions. That's great. I'll gladly put them in. I just don't have the time. So let's just get, before I get into the next one, let's just get back into this. So I want to make sure I'm very clear on this, because if you couldn't see before. So this 51 3/4 is what you need to watch. Okay. Some people can buy it down here, right? And this is another way to trade it, but I'm just telling you on this one occasion what I'm stating. See how you're hitting this lower trend line? You can buy it here. You could buy it here with a flip above the 21 day, right? Flip the 21 day, and that gets you roughly what? 49 3/4 if you're trying to get in early, but it could stay in here for a couple days, like, or a week before it breaks out. If you're okay with that, then you can buy it when it gets above this 51 level, and your stop is or 49 3/4 level, and your stop on this is going to be 48 1/4. Okay, so that's one way to buy it. But what I'm saying is I would wait for it to break this 51 3/4 level in RVLV. So I hope that's pretty clear to everybody on that one. And this one's very interesting to me for a litany of reasons. But let me just see if I have any questions. You're welcome. Thank you for watching. And just please do me a favor and throw in things out there. You know, throw things out there. Just let me know what I can do better. How would you interpret RSI for RVLV? Does it seem to matter here? So the best time you use RSI is when? right? We did a video on this, and I know everyone's not going to watch every video. You have real life, but this is a really good question. Because when do you use, when is the best time to use RSI? The best time to use RSI is when you're basing, okay? Not when you're breaking out, when you're basing. You're looking for color. You're looking for an example of what's going on. So we're basing here. What is RSI telling me? And the reason I didn't even throw RSI in here is it's not really adding any value. It's confirming the move, but look at what RSI is telling us, right? What's RSI telling us? RSI is telling us the same exact thing the chart's telling us. So there is no divergence. There's no positive or negative divergence. I guess that's good. But is it adding any color? Is it adding anything there that's adding value? No, there's no real value there. It's simply confirming what we already know by reading price. And let me just get rid of that because we don't need it right now. And I'm going to move on to the next one, and then we'll take some more questions. So I really like this idea a lot. And let's get into this. So this is Redfin, and everybody knows what Redfin is, I hope. They're basically in the real estate market, very similar to a Zillow. But let's just go through a couple real key levels here. And these indicators I'm going to leave because they're important. The 50s coming down, and you're here. But notice what happened on Friday to the stock. And when people ask, how do I find these? I go through hundreds of charts, literally hundreds of them, especially on the weekend. But just look at what happened here. Just get right to that level. There it is. Okay. So if you look at this level right here at 69.10, I'm going to just draw it because you can see the significance of it. Bonk, bonk, right? All in here. See how many times we've hit? We opened there. We broke below it, right? A little shake and bake. And then we close at the high of the day, right at the 50. Why is this important? Well, this is important for a couple reasons, and we're going to drill into this one because I think this is really setting up very nicely. Okay, so you have a trend line here. You have a trend line here. You have one that's not as pronounced that's up here. Okay, so you have a bunch of people looking at this level from all different kinds of angles. Okay, when you have stuff like that, you need to pay attention because there's a lot of different people looking at this level for a lot of different reasons. Now I'm going to get rid of all these segment lines for a moment. We're just going to focus on what's going on here. When you see a level like this, right, and then you broke out, you're forming a flag. You're forming a flag right below resistance. I mean, here's a resistance point, just to put it in perspective, right? And you should be able to see this and see how far back this goes. It goes all the way back to here. Okay, so here was your breakout. We tested support and resistance here. Couldn't get above it here, right? Here's that morning star pattern we talk about on candlesticks. Boom, then it breaks out. See how it respects this line? Can't get above it, can't get above it, can't get above it. What has it done? It's flipped from support. It's flipped from resistance here to support. That's what we want to see. Now, if you just take a look at this simply, you could use the high of this bar, which is 72.5, okay, as your level, or you can use the 50-day or a break of this. I would just use the 50-day at this point because you have not closed above the 50-day, have you? You've not closed above the 50-day since we broke down here. So using just the 50-day moving average puts us roughly at 70.64, which puts us at 70.75. Where could this go? Well, this is how you draw targets on stocks that are in these trading ranges like this, okay? So let's just devil's advocate. The first part that you would say is you should be able to get to here because that's the first wedge. So your first target on this is 10% or 8 points to 77.80, okay? Clearing that target, you're going to get to here, okay, which is 82. And then you would go to and try to get this flag because you can see this as being a bear flag, hopefully, and go from there. So that's Redfin. And I think this has massive potential once it gets above that. And you're seeing a lot of action in stocks that are not correlated right now. So let's just see. Zillow, I'll do at the end. If you're basing, tell you don't buy. I don't understand that, Emily. If you're basing, if you would tell why you don't buy. I don't follow you. Emily, if you just clear that up for me and I'll get to it. because I don't follow the question. If you're basing, if would tell you why buy, I'm not following it, and I want to answer your question. So please, please clarify. Thank you. So, pardon me, drinking a little coffee. So, I don't want to get into the specifics of a company, and if people have, reasons why they're not going to buy them. These guys own gentlemen's clubs. I'll just get it out there. The bottom line with it is this stock is basing and something is going on here. And I'm just going to point it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we finally closed above it. And the volume line is ever so slightly starting to pick up. Now, let's just see if we can get any more color off of this since we've been basing. Let's just see if we can get any indication on what's really going on here. So we're going to put the RSI back in and just take a look. I haven't really ran this one yet on RSI. Okay, so we're getting a clear indication here on what's going on, aren't we, from the RSI? And I'll show you in a minute. But really, if we just looked at this, and let me throw this up here for those that are on smaller screens. So where I'm going to go with this is just explain RSI in a little more detail. RSI determines the magnitude of the move. That's what all these little lines are down here. It's just determining the magnitude of the move. That's all it's doing, okay? So when you see the magnitude of the move and you start seeing that change and the stock's not changing, it just tells you you're getting ready to move. So there's a couple key things here that we're going to notice with the RSI that I noticed right off the rip, okay? There's your trend line. We've broken out of that trend line, okay? We're not out of the base, and we've already broken the trend line. Second thing you're going to notice on the RSI. Okay, you are above this level on the RSI, and you're not really above it here. So I have a positive divergence on the RSI. To put this in perspective on where I think this could go, let me just do it this way, because I think this has massive potential. And it's one of the reasons why I listed this. So this is something that I would be looking in to stay in a longer term. You are really shooting for a level as high as, let me just get this perfect. And then let me just shrink this down. So you're really shooting for a level right here. Okay. So that's your area. Let me just double click on this. All right, so that's it. We're just going to click that. So this is really what you're looking for, okay? You're looking right now that if this was to break out, you could get to that 99, 98 level. So you're basically heading for a century mark. So for me, this has massive potential. I think that this long multi-month, almost full year hold here could have massive potential. And really, you're looking at roughly the possibility of a 33% move or 24 points. So definitely keep this one on your radar. Any questions on this one before we go? Sorry, typing so fast, not very clear there. So what would you call that, a double bottom? On Redfin, would you call that a double bottom? I don't know, let me go back to it and take a look though. Emily was answering route. Oh, okay. The previous day RSI. All right, so let me just go through that. Redfin a double bottom. I don't see a double bottom. So let's just walk through what a double bottom is. A double bottom, a technical double bottom. I mean, I have a base down here, but I don't have a double bottom, right? And here's why. A double bottom needs to undercut the previous low and then bounce back up through it. And that didn't really technically do it. So to answer your question, no, that's not a double bottom. That's not a double bottom here either. Where was this a double bottom? If you look at the left-hand side of the chart, and let me just show you a double bottom. Let's get rid of all these indicators. Let's get rid of all these lines for now. And just so I can show you what a double bottom looks like, let's remove all these segment lines. And let's just remove all these horizontal lines. And let's get right into this. So a double bottom, again, must undercut, right? Must undercut the previous low. So I'll say it again, must undercut the previous low. So let's just move this off for a second and say this is all you've seen on the chart, right? You only have seen this portion of the chart. So this is the low, okay? Now, this opened below it, okay? We opened below the previous low and we popped back over it, Okay. The minute we broke below it, opened below it, the previous low, and then ran up through it, whether the move was this magnitude or just closed here is irrelevant. That's the beginnings of a double bottom. So I hope that's clear on what needs to happen. You need to undercut the previous low in order for that to be in existence. So this is, this is something like, I just want to get out there because it's fascinating what's going on here to me. You're coming out with earnings on Monday, and I'm just going to throw that out there. So, you really don't want to be stepping in front of a train, but after earnings, I know people that are going to want to say, I'm going to buy options on it anyway, but like you are almost within a point range on some of these moves. Like it's insane how tightly wound this is getting. So on earnings, which are Monday night, this is going to move violently. I don't have an answer for you as to which way. RSI is telling you nothing by looking at this. We can really get rid of the RSI here. We really don't even need to have it in right now, but this is going to do something. And based upon the way that it was moving before as it was breaking out, my advice is to wait for earnings and to have this on your list. But if they have fairly decent numbers, being wound this tightly, and you should be able to see this where you were here 135 to 170, right? And you see how you're just winding down the whole time and getting tighter and tighter to really you're within like a point range. This is unsustainable. And what will happen is you will break out of this. It's just a question of when. Now, whether it's to the downside or the upside, we don't know. Based upon what I see, I think it's to the upside, but I don't have a clear answer for that yet. What level you're going to be looking at is the 152 level. Getting above 152 gets me above the 50-day, the 21-day, and gets me above these little peaks right here. So 152, and you could start seeing moves like this again. If you look at when the stock has consolidated like this, you do see spikes in it, and they could lead to higher prices. So put this on your radar. It's one definitely to watch. I do think it has a massive move, but you have to wait for that. Is there a way we can see them in trend spotting this charting stuff if we have an account? Is there a way we can see them in trend spotting? The watch lists? Yeah, there is. There's a way for me to create VAMC. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. There's a way for you to see what I've put in here for me to share my watch lists and when I update my watch lists. I'm just not sure how to do it yet, but I'll figure that out because I have gotten some requests for that. Because I do have several watch lists and I update them regularly, and that might be helpful actually to do that. It's a great idea where I could update the watch list and actually update the stops and everything and the triggers in the watch lists and keep them interactive. It's a really good idea. I'm going to consider how to do that. Look into that more, VAMC. NVAX. So I don't know if we're going to get a BNTX move here. What I do know is the following. Okay. I've broken out of here on very large volume. And I mean like huge volume for this. It's almost 2x the volume. It's very hard to see this, but this volume here, you're almost 2x the volume on this break from this wedge. So you had there's so many different lines here. This is probably going to confuse everybody, right? So let's do this. Let's get rid of all these horizontal lines, and let's get rid of all these segment lines, and let's get rid of all these indicators for a moment, and we'll put this back in. So let's just go through what's going on here. Okay, this is a W. Okay, you should be able to see that. It's an ugly W, but it's a W. Okay, so you tried to break here and you failed to get above the W. And when you want to see the W, you always want to get above the middle of it, right? So what you're seeing here is you based, you got above it, and now you're trading right around that portion. You're actually below it, okay? What we're looking for is very simple here. You're looking for a break above this. So you're really looking for a break above 244. A 244 break on this flag could push us higher. How much higher? A lot higher, because you've been basing in this since March and you're 2 months out. And people want to be in this idea. Now, just to put this in perspective, even when we sold down, okay, we didn't fill the gap, right? You filled to here on the gap. And people know that you have to watch these gap fills. See how you filled to here on the gap, but you didn't come all the way down. So you got here on it, but that was really it. So now you're basing, and it looks like we're going to head higher here. But a break of this flag, and now we can put the indicators in, and this could really move. Now look at this on the weekly, okay? On the weekly, you can see the W just a little more clearer, and you can see where you have to get above here, right? That 244 level we were just talking about. So when you break that, you're really heading back to the top of this. If you want to get technical on the weekly, this break up on the weekly is really a bull flag, and this is the flag. So there's a lot of potential for this to move forward, and I would definitely consider putting this one on your radar. That's NVAX. Any questions? Follow along on your software, get some practice in drawing lines. Yeah, absolutely. I would follow along. Would you move a ligand after hours to catch the earnings momentum? I would, Emily. I mean, I do that all the time. I try not to talk about my after hours and pre-market moves because you have to be fast. And what I'm starting to realize in throwing out ideas is that people do not have a process. And it's starting to scare me a little bit. Like you have to have a process where if you buy it and you're wrong, you get out of it. You don't wait. You don't hope for it to go back up. You get the heck out of it and you find another entry spot. I mean, that's what you need to do. So I hope that's clear, but that's it. But yes, I buy after hours. I actually do more after hours trading than I do pre-market trading. Pre-market trading for me is I look for things that are rallying way too much and sell them. Pre-market moves are usually more retail. After-hour moves are usually more institutional. If you did a study of it, you will find that the after-hour moves hold a lot more than the pre-market moves. So that's NVAX, and that's where we're at. And I will look in the watch list and how to update them and keep them going. It's a great idea on the watch list, and I could move along with people and show where the stop should move to and everything else. So LRCX, we are not ready for prime time, but we are getting there. This is setting up for a classic double bottom, pardon me, undercut, and then to go higher. So the very first thing we're going to do here, so everybody can see this, is we're going to get rid of all these horizontal lines. This is your old channel. We're going to get rid of these indicators for a moment. This is your old channel, right? We got above it, looked like we were going to rally. Everybody knows that when we break, that follows the newsletter. Newsletter's free. There'll be a line for it in the descriptions, but if you don't follow it already. But you see how you're here and you can't get above this old line? Let me just draw it out further now, okay? And these two lines were cloned, so they're exact. But you see you can't get above this? So this is leading me to believe that we're going to have a flush out. And what would that flush out look like? Well, you're at 611 here. Okay, this looks like it's going to roll and retest. So let me just show this. Okay, you would go to the close here, worst case scenario, which would put you at like right there, put you at 596. Realistically, I don't think you're going to get to that. I think you're going to get to the top of this. Right? I think you're going to get to maybe that 602 level, undercut and bounce back through it. What you're going to want to look for is that undercut. Now, this is really important stuff. The mean of this trade is that 21-day. That's usually where your mean of a stock is. In other words, if I was to throw in Bollinger Bands, which tell you, the movement and what's going on, the mean is the 21-day, right? And then this is your trading. See how tight this is getting? That's telling you that a move's coming. Usually when they get tighter and tighter, it's telling you that a move is coming. It's just a question of when. So you are setting up here as well here. What I want to see before I engage with this, and I'm looking at this much longer term, I want to see a break below the 611, right? Possibly watch this 602 line and then see a push up. And then we're going to retest these lines. But I need to see the undercut below 611 before I even consider buying the stock. So I hope that's clear. It's kind of a different kind of trade, but I'm looking at this longer term and think that this has a lot of potential. But I'm looking for that undercut here. So when the double bottom happens in the undercut and then the flip back through is when I'm looking at engaging this one. We've already had earnings. The earnings were spectacular. I hope that's clear. So And you want to do the SOX, please? Yeah. Yeah, you need the discipline. You have to get disciplined with this. You need to get disciplined, and you need to be repetitive. That's one of the things I'm trying to do with these videos. I'm trying to take like the trade, like the pro series that we're doing, and implement them in there. AB, if you can't watch the after hours trading, then do not get involved with it. Just wait. You know, just wait till the end of the day. Steve, I'll go over all these stocks in a minute. So when you enter after the undercut, so when do you enter after the hour cut? Sir G, let's get to it. So that's a good question. You don't have an answer yet, so you have to keep watching it. Your first undercut that you really are going to have to watch, I'm saying, is 611. Realistically, it's 608.26. Why is it there? Because I want to undercut this wick. I want to see price that was rejected before on that line. 608.26 is your first line that you truly want to see. Undercut that, and it would be true double bottom, right? Not just the bottom here, but this little line right here. Undercut that 608. So if you want me to give you the first indication that could happen, a 608 undercut, meaning below 608, and then bounce back through 611. So I'll say that again. A 608 undercut, and then you're going to bounce back, right, through 611. That's where you want to get involved in the stock. That's where I will be looking for patterns to get involved in the stock. And the reason I like it there is because I think I have 30 points before I even have to challenge this line again. So that gets me in at a nice price. I hope that's clearer. Yeah, thank you for telling me I wasn't clear enough. So this is very simply what I'm looking for is a trade out of this one, but I think it's a pretty clear trade, and I'm just going to walk through it. So we're going to throw the 5 and the 8 in on this so you can see what's going on, the 5 and the 8-day moving average. And we're going to throw in this indicator right here so you can see this. See how you have broken this channel and how this channel has now flipped. And let me just zoom in on this. And this is RH, Restoration Hardware. There we go. So you can see here how this line has flipped. You see how it flipped? We hit here and now it became support. Let's get rid of these indicators so you can see it even clearer. See where I'm going with this? Okay. What happens next? You form a flag, breaks out of the flag and just goes, right? And now that becomes resistance, right? That resistance becomes support rather. Now you are in a channel here. And so the channels on these, the trajectories are changing. You can see how this one worked as well. Right? What you're seeing here, and let's throw these indicators back in. What you're seeing here is we constantly are above the 5 and the 8 while this is going on. All I'm looking for out of this to continue this trade, right, and get me back to this 7, where are you, 740, 750 level, all I'm looking for is for a flip above this higher high. Okay, that's what I need. So 702 3/4. So I'm looking for 703. Getting above that 703, okay, should push me to new highs. The way that this is setting up is we don't stay, if you look at this chart, we don't close below the 8-day. It doesn't happen. Now, if you break the 8-day, you're probably going to the 653 level. So you need to be aware of that and not do the trade until you get up in here. Once you get up in this, and you flip that level, which is just flipping the 5-day again as well, 703 is what you're looking for. And you're simply looking for a trade with it. You're looking for like a 5 to 7% move, 30, 40 points, but I think it's out there. Let me just see if that was clear and if there's any question about that. Couldn't 611 be resistance, then continue down? 611 could be resistance, and it could continue down. I don't know. I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen, right? We're just all trying to figure out what's going to happen. And that's why you need money management principles. And it's why you need to look at this and say, how can I put a process in place so I don't get hurt? That's really what you're trying to do. Okay. And we don't have all the answers. All we can do is read what we have and then put a process around it and let money management process make us money. So I'm going to get rid of these indicators for a moment. So this week earlier on earnings, I stated that these processes, after earnings and you sell down, it takes 3 to 5 days. So this was a fairly easy trade on Friday off of this line, okay? And this is why it's so important to have your line set up. And to me, this is just getting started. And I'm going to just kind of walk through it all. So you came down, you tested this line. Okay. Right off this line, if you look at this, let's drop this down on Tesla so you can see this. Okay. The low was the open. That was it. It was straight up buying all day. Very similar to what it did here, right? And then how did we react on that move? Just to put this in perspective so you can understand where I'm going with this. So you're trying to find pattern recognition, right? The last time it did this, we were up 179 points or 29%. Does that mean it's going to happen this time? I don't know. I don't have an answer. But what you can see, and always we clone these lines, right? By cloning them, we get the true trajectory of the move. Okay. There's your trend line. Okay. So this is telling you that if we follow and stay in this channel from this level here, you're heading back to this $800 range. And you're still in the channel. Nothing's changed. Now, I stated, I think Tuesday, that I don't see us staying below the 21 and the 50-day very long. And let's get rid of the 5 and the 8 because I just think it's too much noise. And then I'll start taking questions and we can go through things. There is an indicator I want to run through real quick. I have to figure out how I'm going to do that with the screen. But look, what you're seeing here is you're seeing a break above these levels, right? You want to get above this 21 day. You didn't stay below the 50 very long, did you? You made it a day. So to me, you have a little trend line here that you need to be concerned about with inside the larger channel. But once you break through the 729 level, I think you're going back to 800. I think that this is going to move. This is a pretty powerful move that happened the other day on above average volume. And on Tesla, let's just go into this so you can see where you're going. That's your weekly. Nothing's really broken here. We tried to get above, this bear flag weekly move, and we couldn't do that. But just take a look at this on a weekly. Now look at the monthly. Okay. The monthly is setting up. I put this line up here for a minute. But people that looked at these candlestick patterns, the monthly is setting up here. Okay. This is a Morningstar pattern, right? And usually if you undercut, and go back, the Morningstar patterns take you back up to this pivotal point. And that's really what you're looking for. That would get you back to 870 longer term on the monthly. So this has a lot of potential here. And this is where you should be looking at Tesla at these levels, not when it was, back up here or over here. This is where you should start paying attention to it because this can go higher. So that's it for the top 10. And let me just drill into this and see if it looks like I may have, did I go offline here? No, it says I'm still online, it looks like, but let me just see here. So my screen froze for a moment, so I really can't see anything. Hold on one second here. Let me just see if I can find it this way because I don't want to end this if we're still going on. Bear with me 1 second. I'll get better at this. It's just a question of time. So it looks like I froze. Hold on 1 second, everyone. Let me just see if I can get to it this way. So my channel, bear with me. And I'm just going to see if I can get into the Q&A this way. Then someone can tell me if I'm still in or not. It doesn't look like I'm in any longer, but 1 minute more. See live. Okay. Live. Yep. It still shows live. And let me just see if I can get into the details here. So, yeah, it looks like let's see if I click on this and maybe that'll get me there. Stay with me. 1 second here. All right, so that's not going to work. It looks like I'm out here, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this, and then I'm going to have to take questions later, or maybe I might reboot this and see if I can get back in that way. But for some reason, it's kind of frozen on me here. So let me just end this, and then we can kind of go from there. I think I can end this. Bear with me. Okay, there we are. All right, you guys got me there? Okay, I think I'm back. Sorry about that. Had an issue. Okay, we're back live. Can you guys hear me? All right, cool. I don't know what happened there. Just bear with me. In regards to perfect. That's what I'm looking for. You can hear and see everything. Okay, I'm done with my top 10, so I'm open for questions. You know, let me know. I'm going to get better at doing these. I am going to start doing a pre-market show for like 15 minutes before the market. I'm not going to do it this week. I'm going to start next week. By then, I'll be more proficient, have all this stuff set up, so I'll get rid of the glitches. So far, the only question that I have, you know, that I can see that people are interested in is the SOX. People were asking about this SOXL, but throw out symbols if you're interested now, and we'll run through them. So the SOX clearly, you know, we were in this at 38 and a quarter. I said our stop became below 40, and that happened. So we were out of that trade. This was very disappointing because I thought this time might be the time that it pushes through. It's not, and we broke down. The way that this is setting up right now is that it's going lower. And based upon it going lower, I think that you really need to be careful here. I would not be a huge buyer of this until I see it actually hold this level, right? You see this trend line right here? So right around that 35 range, you need to hold, okay? 35 and a quarter, right around there. Make sure that you hold that level. If you don't hold that level, you don't want to be in this because it just means that we're in for more pain. Doesn't mean we're not going to go back up. It just, we have some stuff we need to work off. We have some, you know, a little overbought we need to work off. That's all. So I hope that answers it. Am I out of the, let's just go through this. Okay, so I'm getting symbols. All right, cool. Let me just go back through these so I'm doing them in order of people. What are your thoughts on the pre-market and after hours on it selling off in previous months? Hoagie, I don't look at that. Luke, seasonality, I want to get into a little bit. I'm trying to figure out the right way to do that. At the high trending resistance on Tesla, no, I'm not worried about that at all. So CCJ is a uranium play. Let's get into that. So, you know, I've been looking at this. Obviously, someone wanted to look at this. This is CCJ. Let me throw this up there for people. And let's get into this. So, you know, I'm going to find a way to update these watch lists so that you guys can follow along with when I move them, if you do have TrendSpider or not. Maybe there's a way I can do it even if you don't have TrendSpider. Like maybe I can do it in the pre-market videos and then you can watch it so that everyone doesn't need a new trading software. I mean, there's so many of them. So, Luke, I do want to address the seasonality, but I want to do it in a different way. I'm trying to figure out the right way to do it. So, and I have an indicator I want to use. So what you're looking for here on CCJ is pretty clear, right? You have a downward trend line. You're trying to break above it. So far, you failed. So we have this 18 level up here that we're trying to get above, but that's irrelevant for now. Right now, you can't get above this part of the W. You actually have a V. And you failed. So you can even see it. I put it here for this, but you can even see this level here, 1720. You need to get above 1720 before you buy this. And at this point, I'd wait for a close above 1720 before I would buy CCJ. It could take you to that 18 range. And then, like, you know, for what you're really looking for, if this gets going, it could get going, right? You can see how there's your trend line. We tried to get above it and failed. You can get up to that 20 mark. $21 on CCJ. What else do we have here? This week you said you were going to talk about options deep in the money. I'll get into that, Nicholas. It's going to have to be a whole video on options. How do you manage the stops on options? You just manage the stops. To me, you decide if you're going to use an option stop or you're going to use a stock stop, but you have to put it in there and you have to figure out what's going to be best for you. For me, on options, if you're deep in the money on an option, it should trade in parity with the stock essentially. So then you just use the stock as an option for your stop. So I hope that's clear. If not, I'll get into it. NIO, net, SLB. All right, let's get into it. NIO. I mean, look, I was stating down here that this was the trade. I missed it. I was looking at other stocks. We got right to the 50-day, and what happened? Complete rejection. Okay, it shows you that institutions are selling the stock. Not only that, but here, look at this. Okay, opened, ran right to it, rejected, sold down all day, closed near the 21. Until this gets above the 21-day right now, which essentially would be a higher high of this bar anyway, I wouldn't touch it. If you get above this 50-day, it can run, right? I mean, first place we would go is $44. You'd go to here, and then you're still in this base, and you do have a trend here that you've definitely broken out of. I mean, there's no question about it, right? You can see that trend. You've broken it, and it's actually flipped to support now. But until this gets above the 50-day, I think it's kind of stuck. You need to get above the 50-day on that. So in regards to net, I've been in and out of this a lot. I was talking about it down here, and we were in it from the newsletter, and it didn't go on the newsletter on the flag above resistance. The question is now, what do you do now? It's pretty clear where resistance is on this, right? You're at that 87 level and you're not able to get through it. You need a move above 87 before I'd get involved with it. Other than that, I would just be very careful. I would start thinking that you're in a trading market. I mean, people should start understanding that you need to be in trades. Schlumberger, well, you clearly broke the upper trend, right? Or the lower trend, right? And now look, you went right to the peak of this wick, tried to break it, reversed, and now, and this is SLB. Let me just throw this in there for everybody. So, and what's transpiring? You have an evening star pattern, right? To me, you're going back to the 21-day, and you're probably going back to retest this line, which gets you to $26. I mean, this is not the end of the world. I just don't see anything very clear. Let's clone this for a moment. Hold on. There we go, clone. You should be able to see this, but let's just draw it anyway for everybody. So you see that trend line there? So you're above the falling wedge, which is a good sign, right? And you're above the 21. You got to get above this 50. And stay above it. You need $28, $28. And then there's a trend right here that's very nice on SLB. If we can get above there, right? See that line? I mean, it takes you to $35 probably, $35. Get above $28 and I could see why somebody would be interested in this. Absolutely. So that's SLB. Curious about your long-term versus short-term trading. Well, my long-term versus short-term trading is solely dependent upon the market and what the market's doing. Right now, the market is giving you singles and doubles, so you have to take it. That's what I'm trying to hammer that point home in the newsletter. I think I'm doing an awful. I think I'm doing an awful job, but you need to hammer that home. Like you need to understand. I keep saying it. We bought MUDs. We went from 14 to 18 on it. 14 and a half to 18 roughly, and I was very clear. Like, look, when it breaks this one level, I'm gone. And people have to understand that you have to take what you're getting right now. And you just use money management principles. For me, it's not a question of short or longer term trading. It's a question more of, well, how much am I risking and what is my risk? So that's what I'm looking at. FIVN. It's a classic breakout. 5.9, huge volume, really nice trade. Yeah, this looks good. I mean, very, very clearly, if you break below the 182 and 3/4, just get out of it. You should not close below this level. And I would almost argue that there's got to be an 8-day just sitting right. Yeah, there's like an 8-day like sitting right below there. The 5's probably closer. So yeah, I mean, if you broke below this 182 and 3/4, I would not be in this. But this looks great if you're in this. If you're not in this yet, you know, you needed to take out that wick. Why do you need to take out the wick? Because the wick is price rejection. Why do I want to buy something that has price rejection associated with it? I don't. That chart looks great. Am I out of, hold on one second. I'm trying not to miss questions. If I do, I apologize. Long term, are you out of the QFIN trade? Yeah, I'm out, completely out of the QFIN trade. I have no QFIN. I thought I was pretty clear about that on Twitter, but you know, you don't know who's following and when you can follow. Let's go through QFIN, because if someone asks me if I'm out of the QFIN trade, it usually means they're not, or they're considering getting in it. So let's just get rid of all this for a moment. We got way too much going on here, right? People are going to be looking at this and not be able to follow what's going on. So let's get rid of everything. And let's get rid of this line as well. And let's just get into QFIN. So here's my W, right? How are we doing with that W? Not very well. Okay. Broke down this. Now, this hammer bar is interesting because I have the beginning of a morning star pattern here. And the other part that's really interesting about this QFIN is this. Look at that. Right? So you are in it. That is interesting. So, and you do have a morning star pattern here. So here's where I would go with this. If I really wanted to be in this, and I don't want to be in this right now, because I rejected here, and I'm not really interested in trying to get around for 2 points right now. If you're looking to day trade it, it's fine. If I was looking to day trade this, get above this 28.83 level, get to 26, get to 26, flip it, and then you're going to get to this 27 3/4, and maybe you break it this time. Now, if you throw in the 50, you can see the issue there. You throw in the 21, you can see the issue there. The 200, you're way off from. The 8 is going to be an issue. The 5 is going to be an issue. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm saying this is not something that I want to go near. But if you're hell bent on it, you're at the lower end of the trend line, flip the higher high, get you above the 21. The 50, I think, is still going to be an issue, especially, like, look at the 50 on it, right? Let's just look at this. The 50 is going down, like it's pointing down. That's not, you know, that's not warm and fuzzy. So consider that if you're in the trade. LNG, how tight is it? And on indicators, is it something that you would wait and see? Oh, you got to wait and see what happens. You have to, Robert. Like, I want to make that clear with this. You have to wait and see what happens with LGND. You need to see that breakout. You need to wait for earnings. It's something you could look at after hours and go from there, but you need to watch that, Robert. SLV, I'll do next. You're welcome, Shrap. Can you give me your thoughts on SPY? I can. We'll do SPY next. And we'll talk about TDOC and SLV and SPY. All right, so let's do TDOC. Let's do SLV. Look, you have a ton of people here that are buying this. They're gold bugs. They're waiting for the, you know, the physical, the trade. It's not doing anything. It's just not doing anything. So I understand that people are physically hoarding it, but you're not going anywhere. So I just don't see the trade. I really don't. I think it's somewhat maddening. If I was to buy this, or I was looking to buy this, you have to go out and wait till you get to this 25.65 level. And let's look at this on the weekly so that you can understand why I'm saying that. Okay, so this is up here. This is probably from a monthly. Hold on one sec. Let me just see something on where I'm going. Yeah. So see this. This is what I was looking at before. I've been looking at this trade, this silver trade. So this is a monthly chart. So this is 10 years ago. Okay, 48, and look at this downward trend line. You can't get above it, right? Complete rejection of it here. Complete rejection of it here, complete rejection of it here. Just solidifies that this is your nemesis. 25.65 is 9-year resistance. Okay, so before I play with this, before I become the silver bug, I understand that you're building a huge monthly bull flag right under resistance. And that is very positive. You've been building it for about a year. You need to flip it. You need to flip it, power through it, and close above these levels. I closed 1 month above here, and that was it. But now if I was to close here, if I close at the same level, see, this is why it's so important to know where your levels are. Because if I close above this level again, 25.65, this time I'm going to be above the downward trend, which would be the first close in 10 years above the downward trend. So 25.65 is your level on that. And, watch it. But look at your monthly chart. Your monthly is telling you more what's going on there than your dailies are. SPY and TDOC. So SPY's overextended. I mean, you're just working it off. Like, look at the monthly on the SPY. You're just going to work this off. I can't stress it enough. Do I think we're going higher? Yes. Do I think we can go lower before that happens? Yeah. I mean, look here. Let me just show this. Okay. On the monthly, you have flipped, right? You're going parabolic. Of course, you can come back down to this level and go to 380 again. Absolutely. It's not going to be fun if that happens. At the same point, I opened at the low of the month and I'm closing at the high of the month. Probably not something I want to play with, right? So I really need to see how this plays out. But yeah, you're way overextended. This is a monthly chart on the SPY. Yeah, you're way overextended. And you could consolidate. I mean, you have to understand something. You could drop to 400 and be a 5% drop, and you're just building a bull flag. I'm just showing you the monthly right now. I think the monthly is more important to look at on the SPY than the daily right now. So you can understand where you're at holistically. To me, you have a 410 level and you have that 398 level, right? You have this downward trend level here. You have a ton of support areas in the SPY, but you are extended. You are really extended. And, you need to understand that. So hopefully that was helpful. TDOC I was asked about, and then I'm just going to get to more recent questions and then just cycle through again. TDOC you need to just stay away from. I mean, I don't know how else to say it and be nice. Like, it's just so disappointing. Like, it really should work. You want me to give you a ray of light? It's this. See this volume? When you have significant volume like this, when you have huge volume like this, what does that mean? It means that you're getting ready to be exhausted from selling. If you could have just undercut this with it, it might mean that you have a double bottom, but you didn't do that. So I would just wait and see what happens here. The 50 has crossed the 200. That's usually, they call that a death cross for a reason. See how this 200 is pointing down and this 50 is pointing down? So you need to be careful there. You need to really be careful there. I would be looking on the short side. Let's see, CGRB. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that symbol. Looks like it's got a B after it. CGRB. Let's see if I can get that symbol since you work there. CGRB. CJR.B. No, I can't get that symbol. Email me, and then I can pull it up on one of my other systems that are international. Looks like that's an international symbol, Hoagie. So how do you allocate capital to each trade? When do you decide to add more capital to the trade? Dependent upon the trade, Luke. Right now, you're not in an environment where you're adding capital to trades unless they're on pullbacks. I added to Apple long-term because I have a long-term position in Apple, and someone just bought, the phone's sales are up 67% year over year. I would do a video on that, Luke, more than just answer cavalierly, because it's a very specific question. It deserves a much longer answer. Post a comment on terminology list, BPA, Morningstar, homepage, somewhere that would be helpful. Yeah, I want to be absolutely. The Morningstar is the candlesticks that work video in the Trading Like the Pro series. The BPA is from the newsletter. The newsletter is free. It's in the descriptions. Get it. Sign up for it. I think you'll find it helpful. Absolutely. I should probably come up with a terminology sheet. What I was doing was creating a website where people could go and learn all the terms. But honestly, I trade full time for a living. I have a life on top of it. Between the charts and the videos that we're doing, like I'm all thumbs with like the website stuff. So a gentleman reached out to me the other day and like offered to help, and I may take him up on it just to get it out there. He had some really good points. So let's go from there and let's see what else we have. You enter trades once price goes over the 21 and the 50 for the most part. Are there specific conditions? No, it's not. That's not that simple. There's much more consistent. There's much more to it than that. So I'm not going to get into all of it, but it's not just we cross the 21 so you buy it, or you cross the 50 so you buy it. It's much more in depth than that. You need to look at volume. You need to look at pattern recognition. You need to look at the index that it's in. You need to look at the underlying sector that it's in. You probably want to listen to that and replay it. So the trend from November shows resistance beyond 40 over next week or two. Look, John, you got a ton of, you got a ton of resistance up there. There's inflation in the system. So I don't know, John, that's something you have to figure out. I mean, I don't want to get into the fundamentals. Inflation can go away in 2 seconds if they do the right thing. And that's a completely different conversation. LKCO, I try to stay away from the fundamentals on this because there's better wheelhouses for it. LKCO, do a little penny stock. So, I don't really have much to say here. If I was really interested in this, these are the things you'd have to do. You got to get above $1.50 for me to look at it. And the way this volume's falling off, you're better off just putting it on black and red. I'd be really careful here. I don't know if there's news coming out that could move the stock or not, but technically I'd get above $1.50 before I do anything. It's traded on the Toronto exchange. Yeah, that's fine. I will look at that. If you can email me or put it in the comments so I remember, Hoagie, I have another charting system that I can use. What should we call you, refer to me as? I am trying to stay as private as possible doing this. I want to be. I don't know how long that's going to last. So this call me Arete for now until I figure out, what I'm going to do and how I'm going to handle that. So, I'm trying to stay private for a myriad of reasons. So CPE, look, we went through this one. What did it do? Right? When we went through this, there's your evening star pattern. The candlestick charts will show you the evening star pattern. See how it broke here? And then look what happened with it, right? So maybe the evening star pattern's over. Maybe it's not. But there's one thing that we do know. When we break these downward trend lines and reject, we go to the mean. The mean is the 21-day moving average. So you need to see it hold the 21-day moving average on CPE before you do anything. A monthly chart. I'm sorry. I'm reading so fast because there's so many things coming through. Also, in the comments, please comment on how I could make this video better. These live chats, let me know how I can make them better. CPE, yeah, I mean, this looks awful on the monthly to me. You are in a massive downtrend. You're trying to get above it, and you've rejected. You're finally above the 21-month, but this is not something I want to see. And my volume's dropping off too. So this is not something I'd want to be involved with based upon that. So Snap. Oh, let's get to the question. Yeah, Swing. I actually have been on like CNBC before, and I'm just trying to figure out how public I actually want to be. We'll get to it. CPE, stay away from, Nicholas, until it shows you what it's going to be. In regards to options, buying options, trading markets like this, should you learn more short term as a way of hitting more singles and doubles? Look, you have to be really careful with options right now. I mean, they're just going to suck the premium out of them. I'm actually on the other side of option trades right now, Jordo. I'm selling puts, I'm selling calls, and I'm doing well with them. But I was a registered options principal for 10 years, so I'm very familiar with what to do there. But just be careful. I'm going to take a couple more, and then we're going to call it a wrap. We're going to do Snap. So I traded Snap the other day, and then I just got stopped out of the rest of it, and I'm fine with it. Here you are in the monthly. We have an inside bar on the monthly. I will tell you this, what I really liked about Snap was when we did that convertible bond pricing, the action the next day, how we just, I'm going to be cheesy, how we snapped back on Snap was like really good, right? But you went right to that 64.5 and you rejected. But you're above the 50 and you're above the 21. Like, you're just going to trade around here. I don't see this plummeting unless it does, more capital raises. Their earnings were very good. Look, the other one that I think is really good that I'm dying to be in is PINs. And, this was like number 11 or 12 on the list for the week. because this little pattern here, when you break this little pattern, see how you're getting tighter and tighter here? When you break this little pattern and I get a higher high here, I have an upper wedge line that I can fill and run right to. So this is a really interesting one to look at too, pins. I like Snap, Emily. I really do. I think it's a great company. The way that they're not working with censorship and there's no political bias, it's brilliant. And pins the same way. Like, look at pins. Like, look at the growth of pins in the video market. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So MOGO, and then we're going to start wrapping this up. MOGO, this looks nice. I see what you're saying here. I get it. There's, you've broken this little trend line. You're above here. Your next level really is $9.25, $10. Get above $10, and this could really go. This little wedge right here, you could really take off. Get to this 11 and a half. That's very interesting chart. I haven't looked at this one. Thank you for throwing it out there. That's really interesting. So let me show you what's going on here. So this is the weekly on MOGO. Okay. And if someone timestamps this, if you could timestamp where the other charts are too, some people might want to see them or comments. That's up to you. If somebody does it, great. If not, don't sweat it. 10.75 you could bounce to fairly easy here on MOGO. See how you're in this Morningstar pattern, and we've confirmed on the Morningstar pattern on the weekly on MOGO? Just because you don't hit it that week does not mean that the Morningstar pattern's over. So this flip should take you to here, 10.75. I like that idea. I would look at this MOGO. And let's just wrap it up here. Is it better to keep more liquid portfolio right now? Yeah, Emily, absolutely. That's why I'm trying to keep people in the larger names. When I'm going out there and what I'm doing, I feel like I got to be very careful here. Like, I'm giving people movers, and then I'm finding out that they're not making money with them. And it's becoming a question of, I need to be more hands-on, more interactive. I was pretty clear about this from the newsletter. Like, this is not a very liquid name, but it did exactly what I wanted to do, 14.75, and we ran up, and then I broke this, and I made it very clear that I sold here on Twitter. I'm out, and I held a little bit of it. I have to look at the percentage that I held on it, solely because I think that NFT is going to be around. But if it hits my stop, I'm gone. And the same thing was with this one, VZIO. Like, our stop, 24.20, and I wait for a close. People got hammered on this the other day, absolutely hammered. But our BPA was 26. We went to 28.75. So you're up 10%. So, you need to understand where you're putting your stops. And I think I have to do a better idea of explaining that a little bit more. Cool, Swing. If you could do that, if you could jump in and timestamp them later, I'll throw it in there. Netflix. Yeah, MUDS was a great trade, but I don't think everybody did as well with it as we did, Emily. Regarding your lack of process, it's not you, it's me. So don't change your approach. No, it's not that. It's that if I want to do this, I want to be, and I want to educate, I need to get feedback from people. So I need to understand when someone goes to me like, hey, I'm still in VZIO. And I'm like, well, it went up 10%. You didn't take anything off the table. Well, why? Let me understand your process. I don't know. I got to play with it. I need to find a way to be more interactive for people that want it. So let's do Netflix. So here you are in the daily. Honestly, it's pretty clear what happened here. Look, the problem that Netflix is running into, okay, is that their content right there, their new content that is coming out, and then I'm going to wrap this up in like 1 or 2 minutes because we've been going for 90 minutes now. And I want to replay this for people, and it's got a process. So look, like, their content is awful. Like, all their new content, they need to come out with it. Corona did not help them. It helped them in the short term, and then it crushed them content-wise. Who had a ton of content in the can? Disney. Like, their content is off the charts, right? And Disney's setting up here, okay? Disney's setting up on this break, get above the 50, get above here. This is going to push. They're going to open up everything again. I think Disney's a much better play. Netflix is a seasoned company. I got NVIDIA on the brain. This huge buying spike that did nothing clearly shows that people are selling it. You see where I'm going with this? Look at this huge, huge buying spike. What happened? Can't even get above the 200-day. You can't even look at this until you get above the 200-day. The 200-day moving average is the last bastion for bulls, period. So what else? Regarding Mud's video, you get me how the target you show. Yeah, no worries. Mud's was good. I rode that one. Yeah, I get it. I get it, guys. I feel that some stops trigger too fast. They don't trigger too fast. They trigger because they trigger, right? So that you just have to understand that. When they trigger, they trigger. Don't say it's too fast, too slow. Look, I've been in stocks like, and I'm just saying this to point this out. I've been in stocks like Tesla or Apple that you've got in from years off of simple trades. As long as your process works, you'll be able to stay in these forever and never sell them. Like take Muds, right? If Muds never triggers that 14, I might be in it for a long time, and we can talk to that. Can you add stamp DISKA or DISC? Can you add stamp when you add a stock to your newsletter? Add date and stamp when you add a stock to your newsletter. It would really help. Yeah, Victoria, I used to do that. I used to draw a line to the BPA so you could see exactly where it is. And you could see the date from there, and we'll go from there. So DISC, I don't know if it's DISC that you want. I'm going to do DISC, and then I'm going to end this. So if you don't want to see this DISC, I can Discovery, the C series. Okay. Look, these are all trading the same way. I'm going to use DISKA because it's the A series. What we're starting to realize, and I said this when this broke down, what we're starting to realize is that these stocks never should have been where they are, right? And there's more on the books, and they're still selling them. And you're not going to see the true sales yet. I just avoid it. Just avoid them until they start clearing the 21 days, the 50 days. Just stay away from them. That whole thing's a freaking disaster. I mean, like this one at least is getting some traction, and it's why I pulled it up. Because if you're trying to, you're trying to hunt for these, this one's at least holding above the 200-day and the 21-day. Out of these, these Bill Hwang disasters, this one looked like it was going to run and then just rolled right back down. So thanks again. Can't tell you how informative. That's great, Ron. I'm glad you guys liked it. Ryan, I'm glad it all worked out. Let's see, and we'll go from there. So that's it. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Enjoy your Saturday. I hope this was helpful. Comment. Let me know what I can do better. Later.